ball. I also want to point out that the odds of us getting to see LeBron James this year, thanks to the fact that we're on now at 4 p.m.
Yeah, they got
way
better.
up.
They got
way
better.
Up.
Well, I wake up in the morning anyway. How about you?
I'm like, mid-morning. Is a mid-morning a technical term for when I get up? Like that almost 10? You're so judgmental of me right now.
Right, really, almost 10?
Sometimes. But you have a name, Bomani Jones. The Celtics. Even with Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving having off nights, the Celtics blew out the 76ers by 18 last night. So did seeing this team at full health convince you last night that Boston is the heavy favorite to make the finals?
Ooh, buddy, let's not get ahead of ourselves. There had been literally one game played in the whole NBA, right? There was one game played involving teams in the Eastern Conference. And we know 1 to 10, they're probably better than anybody else in the NBA, right? And the Sixers are a team that we had held up as being a reasonable competitor in the East, and they blew them out of there. I want to see what Toronto looks like before we start going way far in saying that the Celtics are a lock or are a heavy favorite. Because, again, 1 through 10 matters a lot in the regular season. The playoffs is really only about 1 through 8.
And what we saw last night from the Sixers was a lot about what I feared yesterday on our program. I worried, we both did, that Al Horford would continue to absolutely shut down Joel Embiid. Al Horford did that. I worried that Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz would not really have their jump shots in order. Their average shot distance was 8 feet and 6 feet. I worry about that still. And the Raptors, to me, that's the team that will pose the biggest threat to the Celtics if the Sixers will continue to play against the Celtics like they have for the last 14 games because they're 3-11.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it's about if they play this way against the Celtics, right? It's just, what are they? Ben Simmons. We have been waiting for him to take a jump shot, right? Like, It's not a matter if he can make more of them, just are you even going to take them? I think he took 2 shots outside of the paint in that game, and guess what? He did not make them, and none of them were near the three-point line. I don't know what to expect from Markelle Fultz. I don't know what is a reasonable timetable for him to get to whatever it is that he is going to be. But they are still a team with a great weakness, which is guys that are going to have the ball a lot, can't shoot on the perimeter. Out of those 3 guys, Fultz, Simmons, and Embiid might be the best three-point shooter.
That's terrifying, and they were terrible in terms of open threes last night. But it's funny about the Celtics, right? Last year, the word was, this isn't our year. Hayward, Irving, not around. They weren't that great last night, and they did what they did last year. Not a lot new, though.
First game, just a reminder. Next name is Zion Williamson. According to Dan Weltzel of Yahoo Sports, there was a taped conversation of an Adidas rep and a Kansas assistant coach where it was made clear to sign with Kansas, Zion was asking for, quote, cash in the pocket, and he's asking for housing for him and his family, through Zion's father, to be clear. Pablo, is it now reasonable to ask about Duke's recruitment of Williamson?
Sure, it's reasonable, Bo. And the guy, the Adidas rep in question, his name is Merle Code. That is one of the more ironic surnames, given how explicit he was about what exactly they wanted. And in any universe, this would trigger an investigation into how Zion Williamson wound up at Duke. But do you have any faith that the NCAA is going to be like, hey, let's look under the rock we never look under?
But also, let us not forget, the Cam Newton case of way back when was a story of maybe, just maybe, Mississippi State or offering Cam Newton money, but they could never find the money for him to go to Auburn, really. Therefore, okay, we keep this thing moving. It is certainly fair to ask questions. I just don't know how it is that you're going to go about getting answers. Right? What are you going to do? Shake down Zion's people? What if Zion's people say, you know what, we're not answering anything, well, we'll make Zion ineligible. Fine, then I'll be ineligible. Who wins then?
Right.
It's certainly not the NCAA. It's certainly not Duke. But after Krzyzewski got up there and said, this is not the game, this is not college basketball, and then it shows up right on his doorstep with the recruit that, oh, by the way, nobody thought was going to go to Duke until he actually did?
Yeah, Zion Williamson's nickname at this point might as well be the Blip. This is the blip that Mike Krzyzewski did not want to acknowledge. And Mike Krzyzewski, by the way, when you look at the Marvin Bagley situation, Marvin Bagley had an AAU team built around him that was reportedly funded by Nike. Wendell Carter, another Duke one and done. He met with Christian Dawkins. His parents did, at least. So there is always a ton of smoke around these prospects. Mike Krzyzewski wants these prospects. It makes sense for us to look into it. I just don't think they will.
Well, also, who cares?
Well, that's the other
Ultimately, I think what we're getting down to is the Southern District of New York, when they took this thing to court, I think they thought that this would be a big bombshell sort of trial. Like, I've still not been able to come up with a great reason why they're even doing this in the first place. Nobody really cares. This isn't making big headlines. Like, it's a Wednesday. I am shocked that we're actually talking about this even on our slowest day of the week, but it's only because it came out with this name, Zion Williamson, that the industry has decided was going to be the name of the college basketball season. There's not a level of outrage about this. People, I think, are numb to a degree with this idea. We understand how the sausage is made. The NCAA still thinks they got to keep them broke, though, because they think that's what the people want.
Pretty much. Zion Williamson, by the way, about 1.5 million Instagram followers. How dare that kid want to monetize anything about himself? Next name is the Astros. Houston is being investigated for spying and stealing signs after a man who allegedly works for the Astros was caught taking pictures with his phone near the Red Sox dugout during Game 1 of the ALCS. The same man was apparently ejected after being seen pointing his phone into the Indians dugout in the last series. Bo, is all of that really a big deal?
I argue, yes, that it is a big deal. And it's hard not to argue that it's a big deal if they're not flying this dude all around. He is not officially an employee of the Astros, apparently, though his Instagram is a bunch of pictures of him with people associated with the Astros.
That's not suspicious at all.
Look, man, we got to play fair in this game. And the bottom line is you can't play baseball without signs. Right? You can't. If you make your signs obvious, I get it if somebody steals them. But I do think it's a real live snake move to send somebody around like they're doing with this cat running some espionage.
I think the technology involved here is a bridge too far. I think with the Red Sox used the Apple Watch that they got fined for before, that was a bridge too far. But I do love the espionage simply because baseball could solve this issue. They could say, we're going to give microphones and earpieces like we use on television, and they can communicate. Pitchers and catchers and managers, no problem. But instead, you have a bunch of teams using the same equipment that the guy playing drums in the subway has, right? They're banging garbage cans, they're clapping, they're whooping and hollering. That is hilarious to me.
But Pablo, how's the catcher going to talk to the pitcher? Like with your microphone and earpiece idea, how's the
covered up like that?
Right, but there's no batter standing right there. That's the guy you don't want to know is the guy that's getting ready to hit the pitch. This is an intractable condition in this game. You have to find some way to communicate this, and I do think there has to be a recognized game element that says, let the people say what the pitch is going to be, because there is really only one way to stop people from stealing signs. And it involves baseballs being hurled at people's heads.
There is that.
Right?
There is that.
Take your pick on how you want to do this.
Yeah, baseball has a far bigger problem when it comes to subterfuge than the NFL because the action is that much more actionable.
Next name is Manny Machado. Dodgers shortstop is being called, quote, just a dirty player by likely MVP Christian Yelich after what he did to Jesus Aguilar on this routine ground out in the 10th inning last night. Let's watch.
Left side hit hard right at Arcia. 2 out.
Looks a bit unnecessary.
Brewer's not happy at all.
Jesus Aguilar there on the Prince Fielder Fellowship. I mean, yeah, he didn't have to do this. He knows he
dragged the foot into his.
All right, now, Pablo, does he deserve to be called a dirty player for this?
I think this does qualify as dirty, and the guy is a habitual line stepper via habitual footstepping. He has been sliding into second, injured Dustin Pedroia. Had Buck Showalter a year ago complain about this earlier in the series. Got in trouble in terms of outs granted because he was sliding too hard into second. So this is his deal. He's unapologetic about it, but I think that's also why you like having him on your team is he's going to psychologically get into the heads of his opponents.
Yeah, I mean, I would feel that way if you were talking about somebody less talented, right? Like if you had some guy that's trying to hang in the league and he needs to troll and do this stuff to stick around. That's not what Manny Machado is. And we go beyond just the idea of stepping on people. You may remember this occasion where Manny Machado took umbrage with a pitch that was thrown to him and he threw his bat. Yeah, I was like, oh, my bad, it just slipped out of my hand.
And in case
where's your unapologetic that you're talking about with him? Because he was like, no, it just slipped out of my hand. I don't know what happened. Yeah, man, he's dirty. I mean, there's no way around that.
But your point that it doesn't make him any less of a player, or at the very least, he's a talented player nonetheless. That is true. The guy's going to be a free agent this year, Bo, and his exit velocity on the balls he's hitting into play is at 98 miles an hour, the second fastest in the postseason behind, I believe, Aaron Judge. He has a massive arm. He's a great defender. He's sort of the winning run in the game we're talking about. So I think he's still going to get all of his money. It's just that he keeps on getting people angry.
Yeah, I don't think anybody ever had any question about whether this would stop somebody from signing him or anything like this, but this is snake stuff. right? Like, game got to have rules, right? At some point, you got to have, like, there are some things that we are just not going to do. And one of them should be, I'm not just going to kick somebody for the hell of it, or I'm not going in his face with your spikes up.
Right.
And again, maybe the solution, again, is them high, hard fastballs, but then he'll throw his bat at you.
Yeah, the bat, yeah.
High Noon is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Dave & Buster's has the 3 things you need to watch football: food,